Today we're going to be talking a little bit about fee benchmarking. As you can see, I'm in my fee benchmarking dojo right now. And what we wanted to go over today was not only, what resources that we provide here at RPAG and PlanFees in terms of fee benchmarking and RFPs, but also talk about what it looks like to build a prudent process within benchmarking fees. So what are the steps that you should be taking with clients and prospects to analyze those different fees and make sure that when you go to the table for that fee analysis with those clients and prospects, that you have all your ducks in a row and that you're ready to analyze those different cost components and come with the best solution available. One of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this today is because here at RPAG, we have a very interesting vantage point within the industry. Within the last, we'll call it 5 to 7 years, there's been a real shift within the retirement advisory industry in terms of what we've seen advisors doing to win new business. And that's what we're all about here at RPAG, is not only helping you satisfy your current clients, your current book of business, and giving you all the tools to do that, but we're also here to help you continue to add new clients to that book of business and allow you to do that in as efficient of a way as possible. And so one of the things we keep an eye on year over year here at RPAG is what advisors are adding new clients and what are they doing to do that. And so in the past, a lot of advisors were winning new business based solely off of investment consulting. Going into a prospect and showing them what their current lineup looks like versus what they can offer at their advisory practice, whether it was better performance, lower fees, or some sort of combination of those. Really, that was what a lot of advisors hung their hat on going back, 10 plus years ago. But now, like I said, in the last 5 or so years, what we've seen is that advisors with more tools and resources available to them in the industry have evolved their practices to add additional value outside of just investment consulting. And the most common thing that we see is advisors helping with fee negotiations with service providers for plans. And so one of the things I wanted to touch on today with our fee benchmarking process is how advisors are utilizing the tools that we provide through RPAG and PlanFees to continuously win new business. So like Ashley said, I'm going to go through what we see some of the best in the business doing to benchmark fees and then take that information back to their clients and prospects. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, feel free to put them in the Q&A section there. We'll make sure to answer all of those at the end of today's session. And then, like I said, at the end of today's session, I'll also include all my contact information. So I'm more than happy to have a one-on-one call with any of you folks who have been nice enough to take your time today to answer any questions that you'd like to ask on a one-on-one basis or to demo any of the tools that we have. So as just a kind of a quick summary of what I'm going to go over today, I'll start with a little bit about who we are here at RPAG and PlanFees. Then we'll talk about what you need to consider during the fee analysis process. What are the different factors that you should have in your mind? And what are the things that you should be telling your clients to keep an eye out for as well? Then we're going to talk a little bit about the resources that we provide here at RPAG and PlanFees and what situations fit those different resources the best. And then we'll wrap up with a quick talk about how to position those resources with clients and prospects. I have a real world case study that I put together for us today that I think does a good job of kind of talking about how we can put these actual resources into practice. And then, like I said, we'll finish up with a quick Q&A and make sure all of your questions are answered. So a quick about us here at PlanFees and RPAG. And if you get confused about, who is RPAG and who is PlanFees, we're one and the same. PlanFees is the brand that we use here at RPAG for some of our fee benchmarking resources. And really, when you think of PlanFees, I hope you think of a couple different things. One is that PlanFees can help you save time, right? As much as these kinds of resources can help you, as fee benchmarking and RFP resources can help you, it's really about the efficiency, right? If you're taking weeks and weeks or even months to put together these materials, you're losing valuable time to dedicate to other parts of your business. And so, for a lot of the folks on the call today, I know we have some folks that are solely dedicated to the retirement space, but I know a lot of you folks also have multifaceted firms, right? You're doing individual wealth or estate planning or whatever that might look like. And so having the most efficient resources at your disposal is an important way for your practice to be operating at its highest capacity. So that's what we aim to do here at PlanFees, is not only give you the best and most efficient resources, but also give you compelling data as well. So we want you to have as much time as possible to be out there talking to potential clients and then utilizing these resources to demonstrate your value. So if you've taken a look at what we do here at RPAG, you know that we are big proponents of following ERISA guidance. And that's probably mostly because we have a few former ERISA practicing attorneys on staff here at RPAG. But I really wanted to quickly set the table and talk about, as fiduciaries on retirement plans, as advisors, what are we obligated to do? What are the things that we need to make sure? What are the boxes that we need to be checking to make sure we're satisfying not only our clients' needs, but also ERISA and DOL regulations? So on the left-hand side here, you can see we need to look at not only the fees that are associated with the services that are being provided by the record keepers and other service provider, but we also need to determine what services are available and what services best fit our current client situation. And we also need to make sure we're determining the quality of those services as well. I know a lot of you folks have been out there in the field and have heard from current clients that, hey, we're not getting what we need from our current record keeper or TPA. That is a ripe opportunity for you as an advisor to demonstrate your value and to show, using some of these tools, how you can make that situation better for your current client. And then I also wanted to include some best practices there on the right-hand side. So everything that you'll read within ERISA and DOL is based around establishing a process, right? Following that prudent process so that if a client presents a potential problem to you, you have a tried and true process to follow to make sure that you are benchmarking fees, investment services, and then going back to the table with those service providers to renegotiate costs. And thankfully, here at RPAG and PlanFees, we've done all the hard work to establish processes for you. So feel free to take the years and years of experience that our leaders here at RPAG and PlanFees have and put their processes back into play. The other day, I was looking at some of our leadership and how many years they've been in the industry, and I added them all up together. And our leaders have 200 plus years of industry leading experience combined, 200 plus years of experience. So feel free to leverage that, right? Here at RPAG and PlanFees, we're not just a technology provider, but we also can help you with establishing processes and helping you with best practices as well. So with that in mind about what the ERISA and DOL best practices are, let's talk a little bit about the challenges that are faced by you as advisors. So like I mentioned, we need a process to follow. And so I put together this little graphic here on the right-hand side of our screen to talk about what that process should look like. So starting at 12 noon there, you see we need to gather fee disclosures, right? Here at RPAG and PlanFees, the fee disclosure that we typically rely on mostly is the 408B2. And the reason why that is because we feel that the 408B2 disclosure does the best job of outlining the recurring annual plan level fees for you to do your analysis. You know, some of the other disclosures that you might find out there can be very helpful, and by no means is the 408B2 the end all be all for fee disclosures. But we've, through our analyses and working with our partners, have found that to get a sense of what a plan is paying year over year, the 408B2 is going to do the best job of doing that for you. So we always recommend starting your process for fee analysis by taking a look at that 408B2 fee disclosure. And then one of the things that you'll read within the DOL's guidelines over and over again when it comes to fee analysis is talking about fee reasonableness, right? And what is a reasonable fee for a plan to be paying? So a big part of your process within analyzing fees is not only going to be taking a look at the current fees that the plan is paying, but also taking a look at, okay, what is a reasonable fee for this plan to be paying based on the services and size of this plan? So taking a look at the reasonableness and then benchmarking the plan. The DOL says that it's part of your fiduciary responsibility on an annual basis to determine fee reasonableness. So on an annual basis, you should be benchmarking the fees of your clients and your prospects as well to make sure that their fees are reasonable. And then based on ERISA best practices, every 3 to 5 years, depending on how big the plan is, right? If you want to have a conversation about where those break points are in terms of assets, feel free to follow up with me afterwards here. We can talk through, where we see plans being taken out to bid every 3 years versus every 5 years. But every 3 to 5 years, you should be taking your plan out to bid and doing kind of a live market analysis based on service providers to see what the market would dictate for a plan of the size of your client or prospect. So obviously with this process here that you have, there is a challenge in terms of utilizing the best and most efficient resources available for you. So real quick about us here at PlanFees. We are a subscription-based platform that is backed by RPAG. RPAG, for those of you who might not know, is a practice management firm based out of Southern California that provides a large list of resources to help advisors within the retirement plan space efficiently manage their practice and continue to grow their practice. And again, like I mentioned, PlanFees is our brand on the fee benchmarking side. And really what we've tried to do with PlanFees is create the most efficient and accurate tools within the retirement plan industry. So easy to use tools that allow you to create accurate and compelling reports to show your clients and prospects to ultimately help you save time and continue to win new business. So with our PlanFees resources, we are going to be able to benchmark and take a look at a litany of different things. Not only are we going to be looking at total costs for plans, but we can also take a look at the investment costs, record keeping costs, TPA administration costs, as well as advisory costs. We also have the ability to benchmark advisory services as well. Investment due diligence, RFP and fee benchmarking, fiduciary education, all of those important components that you need to analyze a client or prospect's particular situation. So here at PlanFees, we have resources that can fit every single one of your needs and every one of your situations that you're going to come across out there in the field. So continuing on, like I said, PlanFees is big on efficiency. So with our benchmarking tools, you can create things on demand, reports on demand to highlight clients' fee needs within their plan. A lot of advisors that I work with that utilize PlanFees will actually run these reports in front of their client during a meeting. Their client will make a comment about how they feel like they're paying too much based on how big of a plan that they are. And the advisor will real quickly pull up PlanFees, and within 2 minutes, they will have a report ready to go that shows the fees that a plan should be paying based on their size. And then, like I mentioned a second ago, we want our reports to be revealing and to highlight different components of the plan, whether it's the fees that the plan is paying in each of those fee categories I mentioned earlier, or whether it's on the advisory side, taking a look at what the current advisor is providing to satisfy that plan. So with our PRISM report, you can do an overall fee analysis. With our PRISM 365 report, you can do an advisory fee and service report. And then with our newest innovation within the retirement fee benchmarking field, RFP Express, you can actually take a plan out to bid in the quickest way possible. So 3 different ways to take a plan out to bid using PlanFees there. So with that in mind, a little bit about us here at PlanFees, let's talk about what you need to consider when taking a plan out to bid, or even just analyzing fees in general. So obviously, at a high level, we want to look at how much does the plan cost, right? How much is the plan paying for record keeping, admin services, all of those sorts of things, getting that actual number that is coming out of either the employer's pocket or participant accounts. Speaking of the employer and participant, we're also going to look at who's footing that bill, right? As we know, it's not important just to look at the fee that a plan is paying. It's also important to look at who's footing that bill, right? Is the fee for the record keeping services coming out of participant accounts? Is the employer writing a check to the record keeper to pay for record keeping services? Those aspects are incredibly important to realize, because it can help an employer position their retirement plan with their employees. If an employer is footing the bill for record keeping and TPA services and they're not taking that money out of participant accounts, an employer should make sure that their employees are well aware of that fact. So just highlighting who is paying those different fees is an important concept for both the advisor and the plan sponsor to understand. Like I said, how are the fees being paid, right? Are the fees asset based? Are the fees a flat fee? Again, with the record keeping fees, they can be structured in a number of different ways, whether it's just a flat asset charge, whether it's a per participant account, or a combination of those. Understanding the fee structure as well is incredibly important for your analysis. And then lastly, given all of the circumstances and all of these aspects of the retirement plan fees, what model is best for you and your client? Is it going to be an asset-based fee that is taken out of participant accounts? Is it a flat fee that an employer writes a check for? Every retirement plan is different. We all know this working with retirement plans. So understanding all of these aspects is going to be an important part of you as the fiduciary expert going back to your client and helping make a recommendation on what model is best for them. So like I mentioned, right, there's a couple of different things that we need to benchmark. First off, let's talk a little bit about investment fees. And like I mentioned toward the beginning of today's presentation, this is probably the most commonly benchmarked fee component that advisors have traditionally leaned on. The investment lineup, right? We all know there's investment management fees that are associated with putting together a portfolio for a client. Those are always going to be taken out of participant accounts. But on that investment fee topic, one thing I'll mention, and this is something that I learned through my years of helping advisors with RFPs and running RFPs for advisors, is that the investment fees are not always just what they seem to be on the surface level, right? We all hear about 12B1 or sub TA fees, or those kind of, for lack of a better word, hidden fees that are associated with investment costs. And so not only should you be looking at that net investment cost that is being deducted from participant accounts, but also make sure you're well aware of what other fees are associated with those investments. Are there 12B1 fees? Are there sub TA fees? And in my opinion, more importantly, how are those 12B1 fees, sub TA fees being applied to the plan? Are those fees being retained by the provider? Are those fees being credited back to participant accounts? Are those fees used to offset overall plan costs? Are they put into an ERISA budget? As we know, there is a large amount of ways those fees can be applied. So again, take that extra step when you're taking a look at investment fees and take a look at what other fees make up those investment fees. And then talking a little bit about administrative fees, right? Those can be a little bit more of a multifaceted conversation. So when we look at administrative fees, there are a ton of different things that we can take into consideration, not just the annual record keeping costs. Or the fee that the TPA associated with the plan is charging, but also compliance, communications, any of those sorts of things that the plan could incur on an annual basis should be documented and analyzed by you as fiduciaries. So making sure that you have a comprehensive look, not only, again, what the record keeper TPA is charging on an annual basis, but what other services and fees are associated kind of underneath that annual charge are very important to know. Does the provider do 5,500 completion for you? Do they send out notices to the employees? Do they charge a fee for those services? Those different types of things are important. And then lastly, on the administrative side, this is a little bit similar to what we were just talking about with revenue sharing with funds, but TPA credits, right? Does the record keeper that you work with offer a credit to the TPA? How does that TPA apply that credit? Again, important pieces of your analysis. And those administrative fees can be paid by either the plan sponsor or by the participants, which again should be documented in your analysis. And then lastly, the advisory fees, everyone's favorite conversation. This is, again, a nuanced conversation based not only around the actual fee that the advisor is charging, but the services rendered for that fee as well. So you all as advisors, I'm sure, have had that conversation with your plan sponsors, but using tools like PlanFees, you can make sure that you're positioning yourself in the best way possible. So even if your fee might come in a little bit higher than your competition, you can utilize, say, our PRISM 365 report to show how your service model is worth that extra fee. I always like to say you get what you pay for, right? So sometimes that cheapest advisory fee isn't exactly what is best for the plan. And then, like I said earlier, we have a large amount of factors that influence all of those different fee components that we talked about, whether it's, the financials of the plan or what kind of support on both the education and service side that the plan needs, and even how complex the plan is. It seems like every year we have a new type of pooled employer plan or multiple employer plan that gains traction within our industry. And while on some fronts, those plan types can actually help us with complexity for small plans, they can also introduce somewhat of a challenge in other areas. So again, there's a lot of different things to keep in mind when we're doing a fee analysis on the plan pricing front. And then to kind of wrap up the what we consider section here, we're going to look at things not only on the plan front in terms of what the plan needs, but also matching the plan to the provider that matches those needs the best, right? If you all have experience working with different providers in the industry, some providers are better with smaller plans. Some providers are better at providing a high-touch educational support system. Some providers have a better technology or online participant experience available. All of these different pieces should be in the back of your mind and documented throughout your process when you are doing a provider search or any sort of fee analysis, right? So there's kind of two different scenarios that we're talking about right now. We're talking about one, just doing a high-level fee analysis and determining whether the fees of a plan are reasonable, like we said earlier. And then the other scenario is taking that to the next step and actually doing a provider search. And what I wanted to talk a little bit about next is the different resources that we have available to fit each of those different needs here. So within the PlanFees suite of resources, we really have kind of three different types of resources we make available. The first is the kind of annual plan fee benchmarking that you do annually for your plan. The next is kind of that live bid RFP market analysis where you're actually getting quotes from service providers and comparing them to the current service and fee structure that the plan is currently under. And then lastly is the advisor fee and service benchmarking, looking at either your current service model as the advisor or taking a look at maybe a prospect's advisor and how they might be underservicing a plan. So we have resources here at PlanFees that fit all of these different needs here. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the RPAG provider analysis as well. This is, even though this isn't under the PlanFees branding, the RPAG provider analysis, in my opinion, is still the most comprehensive live bid RFP report that is in the industry. The RPAG provider analysis allows you to request and receive quotes directly through the RPAG system. And it's also the most customizable report in the industry as well. So for instance, you can reach out to all of your preferred service providers and make sure that they quote given exactly the set of circumstances and assumptions that you'd like them to quote under. That provider analysis also allows you to do investment mappings and include over 400 plus service data points as well. So all of that stuff is available through that provider analysis. And then on the PlanFees side, like I just mentioned, we have our PRISM report to do annual fee benchmarking. We have our PRISM 365 report that benchmarks advisor fees and services. And then lastly, we have our newest report, the RFP Express report, that allows you to get quick and easy proposals from different service providers. So For the PRISM report, or your annual fee benchmarking report, really what this report allows you to do is in under 5 minutes, put together a report that analyzes the investment, record keeping, advisory, and administration costs for a plan. So what we're really looking at here is comparing a plan, say for this example on the left-hand side, a $5 million retirement plan, and we're comparing the fees that plan is paying to fees paid by plans of a similar size. So for this example, we're comparing that $5 million plan to plans between $3.5 and $6.5 million. Within the PlanFees universe, we have about 2,200 plans that match that specific asset range. That is completely customizable by you as the advisor. We have over 40,000 plans in our PlanFees database, regardless of plan size. But like you can see here, we can input the investment record keeping and advisory fees. And then what the PRISM report does for us is it gives us a low, average, and high of those fee categories based on the plan parameters that we set above. And those low, average, and highs that you see are actually the 25th, 50th, and 75th percentiles of the data set that you're looking at. So really what that ends up being for you and your client is a good determination of fee reasonableness to say, hey, you're a $5 million plan that's paying 55 basis points for your investment fees. Is that too much? Is that too little? What does that look like? And then moving on to our next report here, we have our PRISM 365 advisor fee and service report. And really what this report does is it focuses on the service model that advisors provide. And it takes a look at the frequency of services provided by those advisors. So this report is great for analyzing, hey, I have a $10 million plan in my book of business. How often should I be meeting with them to go over their investments? How often should I be meeting with them to go over fees? What kind of financial wellness program should I offer? Those important factors in an advisor service model are benchmarked through PRISM 365. So again, you can use this either internally to evaluate your own service model. You can also use this in a prospecting situation to highlight where a plan might be underserved by their current advisor. And then, like I mentioned a moment ago, we have our in-depth live bid analysis. This is going to be your RPAG provider analysis, where you're determining and evaluating the current plan fee and service structure versus proposals that you've received from different vendors within the market. So again, from a documentation perspective, the RPAG provider analysis is the best and easiest way to document all of those different data points that we talked about a little bit earlier. All of the different services and fees that come with record keeper and TPA services can be documented through that RPAG provider analysis. And then lastly here, we have our newest and latest and greatest in the PlanFees suite, which is the RFP Express report. And essentially what RFP Express allows you to do is it takes the ease and time-saving efficiencies of the other PlanFees reports and melds it with the accuracy and the live bid format of the RPAG provider analysis, and allows you to input a few data points about your plan, some parameters surrounding the plan, and puts together for you some quotes that we have on file from top record keepers in the industry. So as we all know, for specific plan sizes, record keepers typically use a grid format, so to speak. This many participants by this amount of assets equals this record keeping fee. What we've done is we've gone out to record keepers throughout the industry and input those grids into the back end of this RFP Express report so that you can type in a couple quick parameters about the plan, and then you have 8 to 10 instant proposals available for you, depending on your plan size, that you can quickly show your client to say, hey, you're currently paying 95 basis points with your current provider. Here's a couple of quick quotes that we've pulled up from these different industry leading service providers. So with that being said, kind of reviewing all of the different resources that we have here at PlanFees and RPAG, we want to talk a little bit about a real world application of these different resources. So this is a case study I've used before, but I really like it because it helps kind of show how the rubber meets the road with these different resources. So this particular case study is something that I worked on with an advisor last year. And a couple quick specs about this plan. It's a $12 million plan with a little over 100 participants. And really what kind of came about with this plan was that this advisor had met with this prospect. This was not a current client. And the number one concern that this plan had was that they were being overcharged by their service provider, that they really had no way of knowing it, but they felt like there was a lot being charged out of their plan and they wanted to do an analysis. And so the advisor that I worked with put into practice that process that we talked about a little bit earlier and utilized the RPAG and PlanFees tools to do a fee analysis for this prospect. So the advisor really used two different sources of information for this analysis. One was obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the 408B2 fee disclosure. But the advisor also, and the way they actually came across this plan was by doing a 5,500 search for plans in their area. There's a lot of different 5,500 search engines that are out there in the industry right now. In my opinion, and in my practice, what I found is that the Larkspur Executive tool is the most comprehensive and easiest to use tool for doing a 5,500 search. So the Larkspur Executive tool allows you to search for plan parameters based on hundreds of different metrics. So basically kind of digitizing all of that 5,500 data, allowing you to search for different criteria that these plans match. And so the advisor that I worked with had found this plan by doing a 5,500 search for plans in their area and the fees associated with those. He saw that the fees listed on the 5,500 were higher than the benchmark given on Larkspur for plans of that size. The advisor approached the plan and requested the 408B2 to do a fee analysis to make sure he had all of the data available to them. So after reviewing and receiving all that data, the advisor first went to the PlanFees PRISM tool to take a look at, okay, what fees is this plan paying in terms of record keeping, advisory, and investment fees? And so again, as you've seen on many of these slides, we don't only recommend taking a look at the total cost for a plan, but breaking this out into components so you can really identify where those potential problem areas might be. So on our screen right now is an actual screenshot that I took from that advisor's report. And what you can see is in those purple columns is the fees that the plan is currently paying in investments, record keeping, and advisory fees. And then the columns that are left to right next to those purple columns are the low, average, and highs of that PlanFees universe. And so from a quick glance here, what we really quickly noticed was that the the plan was paying 82 basis points to their current record keeper, which was well over the high of the PlanFees universe. We were looking at a couple thousand plans in comparison, and so 82 basis points really stuck out to us as as kind of an outlier there. In terms of, okay, this plan really looks like it's overpaying for record keeping services. As you can see, the advisory and investment fees are, pretty much on par with what our data shows in terms of kind of averages for the plan. That investment fee of 15 basis points was really low. And so that indicated to us that the current advisor had this plan and mostly passive index funds. So that was also something to note. But the current advisory fee was right around the kind of the middle of the road, according to our data. So you can see here just kind of a different visualization of that data. We looked at that 82 basis points. And what I really wanted to take a look at here, folks, is take a look at that second to bottom line there, that total fees line. On this graphic right now, you can see on the far left there that the current plan was paying about $144,000 total in annual plan costs. And if you go left to right, you can actually see that that's not over the high for this plan, for plans of this size. The 75th percentile is right around $160,000. So if we were just analyzing the fees from a total cost perspective, we would actually say, hey, this plan is right around the middle of the road here. But only by breaking out these different plan components here, these different fee components, we're able to see that the actual problem area here is the record keeping fee, and the fact that it's almost $30,000 above what the 75th percentile is according to the PlanFees database. So after presenting that information to the plan sponsor, the advisor took the plan out to bid. And so the advisor really quickly requested quotes from a few of their preferred service providers to get a quick analysis of what that plan could be paying in potential to other service providers. And this is a quick analysis here. This isn't the actual fee data that we received because I wanted to protect the innocent. But one of the things that this advisor did was they went ahead and actually requested fee proposals from different record keepers. And then the advisor actually went back to the current record keeper and showed them these the proposals that they received through this process, and actually showed them, hey, your competing record keepers are offering, bids well under what you're currently charging this plan. So we wanted to give you an opportunity to reprice your services in relation to what the market currently dictates. And so the current provider actually went ahead and lowered their fees for this particular plan. So now, even though the plan was well overpaying, the plan isn't forced to move now, right? Because they did get a fee concession from the current provider that was much more in line with what plans should be paying. So even though this seems like a process where you're just going to be moving your plans every 3 to 5 years, what most of the advisors that I work with do really gather proposals so that they can go back to their current record keeping partner and show them, hey, here's what the market dictates based on proposals that we received, and we'd like you to lower your fees as such. So again, just to reiterate, not only is it important to look at total plan cost comparisons, but we also want to isolate those plan costs and take a look at not only things like investment costs here and whether the lineup is being kind of artificially lowered by index funds, the cost of that lineup, but also, taking a look at, hey, what's the record keeping charging in relation to competing record keepers in the industry. So I wanted to kind of end here by kind of talking about why this is all very, very important. We've talked about ERISA best practices, we've talked about DOL guidelines, those sorts of things. But time and time again, what we've seen here at RPAG, working with, we have over 100,000 plans that are currently kept on the RPAG system. And so we have tons and tons of plan data to look at in terms of not only different record keepers, but bundled versus unbundled services, and broker dealer versus RIAs, and fee versus commission-based compensation. What we found time and time again is that the service providers that you work with will respond to a prudent process that you're using. And so not only does following this process provide the best outcomes for participants, but it also helps you with working with your service provider partners. It allows you to make sure that you're getting the fairest and best pricing available. And it also helps you make sure that you're providing the best solution on both a fee and service front to your plan sponsors. So as a quick summary for today, like I mentioned, following a process that starts with gathering info, looking at what tools you need to use to fit the specific situation, isolating your plan cost components, analyzing your data, and then presenting that to your client. That's going to be the process that you're going to want to follow with analyzing your fees of your clients. The last thing I wanted to pull up here is my contact information. Like I said at the top of today's call, if you have any questions or want to talk one-on-one about your fee benchmarking process, or really any aspect of your practice and how you could be operating more efficiently, please feel free to reach out to me directly. Both my direct line and my email are available right there on the screen. So I'm always happy to talk through any questions that you have regarding our resources or your practice. So folks, thanks again for taking time out of your day today. And I look forward to hopefully talking to some of you directly in the future. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.